Alright, so we're going to be starting Cyberpunk 2077 and going to go into the settings to see what we have going on. We're going to be starting at 1440p using the Ray Tracing Psycho preset. Everything else on high. DLSS transformer, we're going to start off with DLAA just to get a baseline. And that's pretty much it. So let's get into the benchmark to see what we come up with stock performance. Alright, so it's showing about average frame rate is 59.41. And so now let's go into our MSI Afterburner settings. And what we're going to be doing is applying a 2000 boost to the memory, 375 boost to the core. And I'm going to be using 115 on the power limit. The Gigabyte model actually goes up to 125 for power, but no need for me to stress it that much. I just want to find something stable. So we're going to be using 115 on power, 375 core, 2000 on the GDDR7. GDDR7 can actually go a little bit higher than that, but then eventually you're going to start running into the error correction, which means you'll get diminishing returns in your performance. So we're just going to apply that. I'm going to run that benchmark one more time. So baseline was 59.41. And let's run the benchmark again. All right, so there you have it. So that is quite a big jump from just switching the sliders on for the GPU. So before we had 59, and now we're getting about 65. So that's about a 10 to 12%, 11% just about boost. And so now we're going to enable Precision Boost Overdrive for our final test and see if that adds any more performance that's going to be on the table. Also, do note that the GPU did get up to about 380 watts. Core clocks remain stable at about 3200 megahertz, so that's all good. So, yep, let's restart, get into PBO. All right, so we're back. So I just had to do all that off screen, and in this particular game, didn't really gain too much here. It's about 64.98 frames a second was the average. That's about the same as what we had before. Margin of error at best. So basically what I did was all off screen. I did a negative 15 all-core preset, and I was able to get the clocks boosted up to 5.4 gigahertz, which is what you can see here through Riva Tuner. Everything is looking stable. CPU temps maybe a little bit high for my liking, and it is now boosting up to about 96 watts, but we are in the menu. It was a lot lower in the game, but that's what we're getting. So far so good. Let's get into some gameplay and see what kind of optimized high quality settings we can run with this thing. All right, so for starters, one thing I do want to talk about is your PC latency. If you do have a NVIDIA G-Sync compatible monitor, you should be able to see this stat. And this is really important when it comes to gaming. I did some research on this, and for single player titles like Cyberpunk 2077, about 60-70 frames a sec, not frames a second, 60-70 milliseconds in overall system latency. That's going to be about the upper limits of what I would consider a good experience. Obviously, the much lower the better, but if you're going up to the 90s, 100s, you know, after all your frame generation and everything, then I would say that's pretty bad. So let's see what we can do here. First, we're going to use quality DLSS transformer, and I'm going to apply that here. Still not using frame generation, but let's just see what kind of performance we can get in game with those settings. And we're still running it at 1440p and using ray tracing at the cycle preset. All right, so let's get into it. All right, so we're in the city area now, and we're right in front of Lizzie's bar, and we're getting at about 115 frames a second. Again, this is DLSS quality with the RT Psycho high quality frame set. We're just gonna walk around a little bit here.
Knew you were just window shopping.
Window shopping.
Okay. You'll be back.
Yep, so things look really stable, which is really important. You want to see. PC latency is 24 milliseconds, which is perfect in my opinion. That's, you know, probably getting down to the comp shooter level. No artifacts, anything that I can tell that's distracting, which is great. And yeah, we have about VRAM usage just under 10 gigs for 1440p, and CPU temps are looking fine. 69 Celsius, 96 watts power consumption, 333 watts power consumption on the GPU, over 3.2 gigs. GPU temp is sitting at about 64 to 67 C. So yeah, so far so good. DLSS does reduce the amount of work that your GPU has to do. So that's something that you want to keep in mind when you're factoring in your power budgets and things of that nature. Alright, so I would consider this pretty optimal. 112, 115 frames a second is great. Latency is great. But let's see if we can just get some more performance out of this thing. Alright, so I'm going to go into settings, and then I'm going to kick it up a little bit. We're going to put on path tracing, and we're going to see what that does to performance. Alright, so we lost about a good 25% performance going from RT Psycho to path tracing. And sometimes, honestly, this is something I want to talk about too. Path tracing doesn't always give you the best visual quality. Here's a perfect example. Take a look at Mox, right? Do you see her legs? You see how her legs for some reason are just hot pink, and we are at night in front of some neon lights and some LED lights or whatever. But that to me is a little overexposed. I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm talking about. And keep an eye on this pillar in the background as well too, because I'm going to show that to you as well. But first, let's get back to Mox here. So we're going to put it back on RT Psycho. And not only, excuse me, froze up there. Not only do you get a lot more performance, but her leggings look a lot more natural. You see, the pink is supposed to be on the back side here, but path tracing was giving you that overexposure of the pink on the front. There's no light in the front. It's all dark here. And also,
There a problem?
yeah, there's a problem. I just had a crash of your game. So yeah, I've just disabled PBO because it was giving me just margin of error in my testing, and not even just here, it's a bunch of other games. But yeah, I just had a crash. So continuing what I was saying is, back in RT Psycho mode, this looks a lot better. You see there's a red light right here that's painting the rest of this pillar, and in path tracing mode, it was just too overexposed to be neutral. As if there was some sun light that is just being slowly leaked into this pillar. But this looks a lot better. It's matching the rest of the area.
You were just window shopping.
And yeah, I think in this game you just want to keep RT Psycho on. Honestly, it's just a palette swap in my opinion,
Okay.
and it's not really giving too much of a higher level of visual quality. Alright, so now let's get back to where we were doing. Alright, so we're at about 96, 90 FPS, which is not bad. And so now we're going to see if we can crank it up a little bit more and keep the PC latency low. Alright, so we're at transformer quality model on DLSS. We're going to we should have that on for ray reconstruction. That's probably why we weren't getting as best frame rate as we could. Okay, yeah, that makes a lot more sense. Okay, so we're at about 100, 110 FPS, and this is with RT Psycho with ray reconstruction. And yeah, Mox, you look a lot better. You don't look crazy now. So let's see if we can kick the performance up a little bit more. In my opinion, I would be happy with this on a single player game. But anyways, we didn't get an RTX 5080 just to keep it at what's okay. Let's crank this thing up. So we're gonna go over to frame gen. We're still at 1440p. And let's see what happens when we kick this on. Alright, so we're gonna kick on frame generation in the 2x mode. And we're gonna see what this does to our latency. Everything else still the same, quality 4K. And let's see what we get. Alright, and also something just to note, I do play on a controller, and I think for single player games it just feels more natural to me. I can sit back and relax. I don't have to be hunched over grabbing my keyboard or mouse, and it just gives me a good experience that way. For comp shooters, I think keyboard and mouse gives you a little bit of a reflex advantage there. But anyways, back into this. So we're still at 1440p, running at the DLSS quality preset on RT Psycho, all settings maxed, and we're getting a really good frame rate with just 2x frame gen. It's at 187, which honestly, there's no reason to kick on 3x or 4x at this point. Your GPU power consumption is decent. You're at 327, 330 watts. Your VRAM usage is 8,800 megabytes, and this is usage. It's not what's being allocated. There's a specific string and Riva tuner that allows you to choose between the two. GPU temps, they're in the 60s, and this is the stock fan curve. Everything is good here. I would just play the game this way for sure. I don't see any artifacts coming up. Everything looks smooth. Now I do run a 144 hertz 1440p monitor, so I'm actually probably going to even reduce my own performance even further personally, just to get the smoothest frame rate. PC latency is at 29 milliseconds, which is superb for frame gen, and so that's going to make for really snappy performance, and everything is responding well to my keyboard inputs. Can't complain at all, right? Alright, so we're going to kick it up to 4K, and we're going to keep the settings. We're going to kick it down to DLAA, and we're going to take off frame generation again, and we're going to have to restart, so I'll see you back in a second. Alright, so now we are in 4K, and I specifically am using DLDSR to achieve 4K on my monitor. So we're going to start with DLAA just to get a baseline. We're going to be using ray tracing on Psycho mode. Path tracing is going to be off. So let's get into it. Whoa. Okay, so we are cruising around in cinema-like fashion at 32 frames a second on 4K. and our VRAM usage has jumped up to about 11.5 gigabytes. Our VRAM temp is great. That's one of the things I love about this card. The VRAM temps are really, really cool, even if you overclock them at the max 2000. We're getting GPU temp in the mid to high 60s, probably going to touch 70. Yep, there you go, 70 Celsius, which is good as well. CPU is looking good. But yeah, this frame rate is rough. I would not recommend this frame rate. Our latency is piss poor. It's 82 milliseconds. You can play the game, but this is like console stuff, man. This is like console stuff. So we're definitely going to have to make use of DLSS here and see if we can bump this up. All right, so we're going to go with DLSS balanced at 4K because we are using the higher resolution. So balance will probably get you the best of both worlds as far as quality and performance. So that's what we're going to go for. Okay, wow, that actually doubled the frame rate. It actually more than doubled the frame rate. So now you're getting 70-ish frames a second. Your temps are going to go down because you're not using the GPU as much. VRAM is back down to 9 gigs. Frame time is looking good, not stuttery at all, and your PC latency has went back down to 32 milliseconds at 73 FPS. That's just great. It makes the game feel a lot snappier, and you actually now have a good base frame rate to apply frame generation. You definitely don't want to apply frame generation on a crappy frame rate, so that's why you get up to DLSS balance first, then you can put on frame generation. So we're going to do that now. We're going to try 2x frame generation at 4K, DLSS balance, and let's see what we can come up with. All right, and we're back at 4K. We're going to be using DLSS balance. Frame generation, I'm going to set it to 2x just to see what it does to the frame rate, what it does to latency, to see if I have any bad artifacts or anything. So let's jump into it. Okay, and now we are back at 4K. And right off the bat, I can tell you this is pretty decent. This is pretty good. I don't see any, bad visual artifacts, ghosting, anything like that. Yeah, it's pretty snappy. And we're at 48 milliseconds as far as latency. My double taps are working for the dashes. They feel good. It's not too sluggish. I would say this is probably going to be the best experience that you're going to get out of 4K with the 2x frame gen. You could always bump it up to 3x, but then you're going to start running into visual artifacts and additional latency. But hey, let's see what happens. Okay, and we're back at frame gen 3x, and you know what? This is really good. It actually didn't do too much to latency. Still at about 55 milliseconds. Controls feel snappy. You can jump around, zoom in, zoom out. Yeah, that's really good. So 160 frames a second, 159, 4K, DLSS is balanced with frame gen 3x. You got a winner here. I wouldn't even bother going to 4x at this point because there's just going to be that risk for visual artifacts and higher latency and things of that nature. But yeah, this is really good. This is really good. I can play the game like this all day. There's nothing that's sticking out to me that's super distracting. So yeah, I think we got a winner here. Alright, so let's just enjoy some gameplay, why don't we?
Okay.
Sure, and I go.
Hold it. House rules first. There will be severe penalties for any unauthorized recording. No drugs, no groping.
Someone catch your eye? You do not grab them. You find them in the catalog, ask for a BD, and get yourself a box.
I really look that green to you. Like I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Door's open.
Have fun, input. Welcome to Lizzie's.
My, what a sweet little face you have.
Hey,
Get you something.
And I got a bonus joint for you guys here. This is a remake of Dead Space. We're playing it at 4K. I'm just going to go into the settings real quick to see where we are. Alright, so everything is basically on the highest preset. With DLSS, I'm using balanced at 4K. And everything else is high. And you got ray trace ambient occlusion. So I wanted to talk real quick about NVIDIA's drivers because I experienced 3 crashes already using this new driver. To me, that's just unacceptable. For a company like NVIDIA, as big as they are, as long as they've been around, they really just dropped the ball this generation. So the new driver update that came out, I believe it's 576.02. Supposedly it fixes all kinds of problems and, you know, kumbaya and everything. But every time I run a game, if I try to run it in 4K, it'll crash in about 30 seconds to a minute. And also, you see what I'm doing right now? I'm pointing this flashlight on the gun at this wall here. So if you see down below, there would be some box flickering here, just some strange artifacts popping up right where the shadow of the light is down below here when I'm pointing it at the wall. See where the shadow is here? This is the older driver. This is 572.83, and everything is working fine. No issues, no crashes. Performance is great. So yeah, with NVIDIA, what's going on? You guys are really just dropping the ball here. In any case, let's just enjoy this here. We can't get an idea of what the reflex is because this game does not use frame generation and it does not use reflex. So this is just regular rendering with DLSS upscaling and no frame gen. So we're getting 130, 140 frames a second. And this corridor here, plenty of light casting, so I think this is pretty good. And yeah, I would play the game like this all day. Yeah, those guys, they take way too long to kill if you just use a gun. I see you. Come on. Hello. Alright, so that's pretty much going to do it for now. More games are on the way. I'm going to try to do more uploads, if not once a day, once every other day. So stay tuned for the next one. Ciao.